everybody. Welcome again to another episode of Fab's Music Cafe, movie night. And we have a very special treat tonight. All the way from Buenos Aires. Actually, she's a fellow American, but in these days, she's spending her days actually in this post-quarantine in her native Argentina. Great photographer, and one of the few that is completely dedicated to the art of jazz. Adriana Mateo. Hi, Adriana. How are you?
How are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
I am doing well. Just I came overseas to work and visit family, and I was unable to leave because they locked all this mess with the pandemic, which I think is for the better. Anyway, and just waiting for the airport to open. I can go back home to New York. Have a bagel.
Well, of course, you know, being away from home. I'm actually your home. That you were born in Buenos Aires, right?
Yeah, I was born here, and I moved to New York on very young age to do a master's degree at NYU in film direction, and I stayed. I never left. I never. Only to visit.
Well, you know, for everything that you ended up in doing, I guess that was probably the best decision you could have made. So let's dig into immediately with the main question of all of us here, and that's the reason why we're here. I mean, music, and actually in your case is like jazz. How come this, you know, where all this comes from? I mean, it's like you have a music family, or, you know, you're into music, you're a musician. Tell us more about your story.
I'm second generation of cinematographers and film directors. My father, my brother was, and myself. Yes, there was a lot of music that I heard at home, particularly jazz and tango. I personally was always inclined towards jazz. And I was inclined towards both music and film, photography, moving image. And once I moved, well, I have to say that I did take the decision of doing music when I was 14. My father was doing the show for Elis Regina. He was illuminating the whole theater on her show that lasted for 10 years. At the time we were living in Sao Paulo, and that was my first time backstage. An impressive woman, you can imagine. So I saw her walking down the aisle, and you know, my father had this slide that was follow her. And I said to my dad, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I said, be careful what you say.
It's going to come true, right? So that was,
right?
that was the epiphany. So that was the epiphany.
That was the epiphany. That's the perfect wording. And after that, of course, I work at a young age next to my father in commercials, in long features. And then I decided that I needed to break out of, go on my own. And I decided to take a master at NYU. And then after I finished, I decided that I needed to do something with it. Of course. I thought I was going to make a documentary. There was a period between transition. This is very interesting technically. It would bore the audience, but it was the transition between digital and film. Mm-hmm. So it was hard. And it was good. Because if you waited a little bit, you would be able to film inside clubs. While a film production with an Reflex 16 and everything would have been impossible. So I decided to start taking photographs. I would go to NYU at night. I was taking night classes. And after school, I would go to Bradley's to hang out. These were the 90s. And I was with my camera. And of course, it was not a place for, it was basically a place for musicians. I was the only visual arts. There were no photographers, no painters, nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And there were no musicians and music. And I just started taking photos. And then I started meeting very incredible people that were my generation, like, Roy Hargrove, Benny Green, Antonio Hart. I mean, we were all there. We were all there. Christian McBride, Jeff Tain. Those were the guys between our generations, age, and Willie Jones. I mean, there were a lot of people that were coming to New York at that time, at the Bradleys. And then there were the elders. So that's how it started. And then the photos, what am I going to do with the photos? So nothing. I mean, I'm no one. So I just printed them out and started showing them, like, I give them. And long story short, I started using them for their album covers, for their promotions, and I just became friends. I just became one more in the clouds.
Well, but last time we were talking, you were mentioning this, I would say, dedication, not necessarily exclusivity, but when it comes down to photography and stuff too, to the jazz world. Where is this passion or this determination or this focus coming from? I mean, I know that, we talked about, obviously you can do, it doesn't, what I'm saying is, like, of course, photography, you can, stumble in any shape and walk of life, but you're being very, very, very focused to the jazz world. Is there something that it's feeding you more than anything else, or other type of, like, music genre or style or environment by being so immersed in the jazz world?
I love music. I love music. That's for sure. I can read, I can write, I play a little bit of everything. I'm not a great musician, but I love music. But I saw something. I saw that it was very unusual period in time. I saw that there were 3 generations collapsing. And that in history is not a common thing. Usually legacy is transferred because he died, and you go to school or you go to Berkeley, whatever, and you learn. But this was there in your face. You could see the Walton, Frank West, Jimmy Heath playing with Roy Hargrove or with Christian McBride or with, I don't know. It was a collapse of generations that, as a documentarist, it was just like, wow. I mean, it's just, there's nothing else I can do, because this is not going to last. These people are going to die. It's the nature of life. And I saw projects in there. I saw a story, and that was my story. That's why I created all this documentation. I created a book. I'm putting a bigger one now. With that project, I did 2 exhibitions in musicians, 2 in Italy, 1 in Germany. 1 is part of a museum in Perugia. And that's how it started. I looked for the support in the elders. I told the elders, say, listen, I know you don't know me. I can't believe, I don't think I could do it now. I just went to them.
Well, that's...
I just told them, listen, I can only say that I want to do this. I went to Frank West, Jimmy Heath, and Cedar Walton. Buster Williams. I got all type of comments. I remember Buster, who initiated me into my passion for and my love for Buddhism. He says, "Oh, another one." It's very his sense of humor. He's a beautiful person. But at that time I said, "Oh, grouchy." I said, it wasn't grouchy. It was true. And then Sid Walton, which is, he literally hired me for the last 5 years of his life to be his personal photographer, as well as Jimmy Heath. And there was not one show that I would be absent.
Wow, that's dedication. Have you experienced? I mean, I'm my world, which is more like blues rock and everything. I've obviously had to deal and friends with a lot of I would say famous photographers, and the story, regardless of the style of music, is always the same. It's the same thing that I'm hearing, the same thing you're telling me, it's the same thing that I know behind them. But my curiosity is, and I think people's curiosity is, jazz has always been, I guess, either overly appreciated by the people that really love and they're into it, and sometimes I would say almost scorned by people that are not into it, they don't get it, or for some reason they had some bad experience with it. Among musicians, there is always this, I mean, real musicians, they play everything, but I think it takes a natural inclination to play jazz. It's just like, I guess it's like a wiring of your head that goes somewhere, and it needs, and that's why the ones that are, I would say, not necessarily known, but the one that we follow the most, or the one that lives and left the most important legacies, are people that had a very, very particular edge. To your experience, and I do not know, I mean, I know all your work on this part of the music scene. Is interaction with musicians like this, because as we know, I mean, leaving aside some peculiar economic issues, people that embrace jazz are not doing it for the money, obviously. Same thing as people that embrace blues or music that it's not necessarily mainstream. So to be that into what you're doing and be that intense and being really good at it, you develop some kind of personality. Now, without necessarily going into, oh, this guy was like this, or the other one was like that. I mean, have you found throughout all these years of you doing this, personality of these artists helping you in what you're doing, in your task of capturing the moment?
Or, I would be nothing without them.
But so, in other words, sometimes, I mean, for my at least experience with a lot of great jazz musicians, I hardly find kind of like I wouldn't say necessarily ego, but I'm saying like maybe music ego in terms of like the need and the want and the will to propose and show and get into it, because they got all this orchestration in their heads. While on the personal level, I'm noticing and I've noticed very kind of like nonchalance. Well, on the other hand, when you go in a little bit more like of a, I would say, colorful type of music on the visual end, like rock music, funk, and whatever, you're getting guys that sometimes are kind of like overcompensating with their personality and the look or stage antics, however you want to call it, a different kind of approach to music. So obviously, as somebody that is not a photographer, and like everybody out there now that are watching this, and people are like, no, they're only using the camera out of their phone or whatever it is, or to capture, a holiday moment with a family or something funny on the phone. It seems that when you get somebody that is like that, very eclectic and very particular, it might be easier to photograph because it's already an image that it's strong. However, to be able to give vibration, to give depth, and to capture a moment particular with a person, there needs to have some sort of interaction. Now, what's your take on all this? What kind of musicians, what kind of artists do you prefer to work? And the jazz legacy of these musicians carrying on more, like giving more importance to the music than to the visual, helped you, restrained you, unleashed you? What was your experience with that?
Well, there's several parts to your question. Let me start saying that all genres I love. I love rock, I love opera, I love classic, I love jazz. I love good music. Anything that is good music, I am good. I listen to Amy Winehouse. Mm-hmm. I listen to Sting. I listen to any music. The photographer that is an artist, what I did find in the jazz community, it was very hard to enter. I think probably rock is more open. The rock artist is an open, more, I wouldn't say egotistic, but it's just more popular, more used to. It's used to have 10,000 of photographers. They would give you any appointment to a photo. They are used to pose. They're more exposed. It's a more popular genre. And I love it. Jazz is hard. Jazz musicians have a lot of what you say. They are their group. It's mostly considered African American jazz. I am a female and I'm white. So I did not carry any of the credentials that would allow me into that group. I would have made more money and probably famous at rock rather than this. But I did fall in love with that. Regardless whether you understand the music, even if I didn't know any music, even if I didn't like jazz, which I do, but I as I said, I like other music, they are very particularly closed. It's not easy to access to them as you think. They're because they're not used to that popularity as they are Mick Jagger. Even though they could be as a genius as Mick Jagger is, I believe. Many of them, Sonny Rollins is.
Oh my God.
And I have worked with him. But I think that the NEA Jazz Masters have that passion following a legacy. And I think I had that because I come from a family that lived near legacy. I found that niche in jazz. I think that the jazz musician is intimate, but really intimate. And once you're in, you're in. And I gave my word. I gave my word to Frank West, Jimmy Heath, and Cedar Walton, and others that are all, they're all dead. That I would do this, and I did it. It took me 10 years, and I finished. And I think, like when I met Herbie Hancock, or I met other musicians, Wayne Shorter, other musicians that are opening their genres to other things, gives me also the possibility for me to open to other genres that I like, as rock and any other genres that I would love, blues or whatever. Doesn't matter, hip hop, whatever I like. But I had to do that because that was unique in history and nobody was doing it. Nobody was doing it. The clubs were empty. It was not one photographer. It was not even a painter. I mean, it was me. It was only me and my camera, and it was very hard. The clubs had no lighting. I became friends with the lighting people in the clubs. I became friends. I did what Herman Leonard taught me, and I just spoke with them. I asked permission, and I broke through. It took me a lot of time, and I finished. And I think it's everything that is happening right now in the world of music is shifting. And I don't think it's only jazz. I think jazz, I am with the fourth generation, which I love, which is Sullivan Fordner or Cecile McLaurin, Aaron Leal, Evan Sherman. These guys are young, very young. And I am their photographer and I work with them. And they are doing all type of music, not only jazz. I think that if the music is good, if the character connects, if his energy connects, I photograph it. I photograph energy, and music is energy. That's what I do. I don't really think I care what he plays. Mm-hmm. If he's good, if he connects, if what he, you know, if what he has comes through and is given, I just have that incredible attraction to capture it, get that moment. So when someone looks at that, says, wow, it has sound, or I was there. I remember that exact moment of that photo. Wow. And that is what moves me. So even though it started in jazz, I think jazz is moving in many directions. I can go to Africa and photograph indigenous music. It wouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because it's the energy that I go after. And the energy in jazz at that moment was so pure. And it was all open for me. Even I was a woman, and even I was white. No problem. I never had a racist problem. I never had a problem with my gender ever in my life that I worked in New York or any festival. On the contrary, I went to their homes, everything.
That's beautiful. And, you know, that's actually the way it's supposed to be, right? You know,
it's the way it is. I'm telling you, I did not receive any, I didn't leave that. I did leave it with white people, but not the otdo way.
Well, I think it's just like, you know, sexism, racism, and any sort of like what do I call it?
I mean, I didn't want to move into another topic, political or racial.
No.
I wanted to stick to your question. Sure. And make it really entertaining for the people to learn. I think it was open for me. The jazz scene was absolutely, New York was jazz in the 90s. The Lions were there, the Young Lions were there, and I was there with the Young Lions. It was Benny Green, it was Roy Howard, with Antonio Hart. We were all there, we were all together, we were all the same age, and we were taking New York. And we were artists, and we were young, and just was like, wow. And the elders was teaching, and it happened.
I remember.
And I don't know, I was in LA, now the Buddhist comes to me. Maybe if I was in LA, or I was in a bar where rock and roll people, it would have happened anyway. It would have happened. Because what I was after was after the story. I need to tell a story. Mm-hmm. Because I am a filmmaker, and I use my camera, my still camera, as a filmmaker. So that's why my photos tell the story. Because I am a filmmaker, really. It's originally what I am. I am a cinematographer. I work with the big Reflex 35 or the Alexa now, but I like to tell stories with my camera. So I think it happened because of whichever you say, faith, destiny, I don't know. I was in New York, and we were all there. It was a period in time. I don't know where I would be next year, or what it would happen after this pandemic, or how it would, I don't know. I don't know, but I am open to other music because I love music. So I don't think, if it's good music, I don't think I have a problem with the genre. On the contrary, I am interested in the musician.
Well, you mentioned obviously that we're here as as you guys out there at home are watching this, to reintroduce to you this incredible document, which is Herbie Hancock's Possibilities. And you just mentioned about your obviously meeting Herbie and your friendship and the developments of your relationship. What's your take or somebody like him? Which is again, I would like to say something. The reason why I love musicians is, I mean, there's plenty of people, plenty of reason why sometimes I'm a musician myself. I might get angry about it, but for the majority, one thing that I really do love among musicians, real musician, is the fact that there is no age. Meaning, is the only and probably, I mean, I guess it's the same thing with the arts in general, but this is my art. The young admiring and mingling and interacting with the older person. It's not just the little grandson with grandfather on family's occasion, and there is like that kind of like distance because it's like 3 generations apart. I notice with musicians there is like a respect from the young to the older or to the elderlies, that it goes, I mean, if that kind of respect and kind of like admirations and the need to absorb their lesson and their experience, if the rest of the society was able to apply that to normal living, then we'll be living in a nicer place. However, I'm noticing that musicians, especially young musicians, are looking at older musician in kind of like a devotion kind of way. They have their ears and their heart open. Now, somebody like Herbie, I mean, he wrote the book and he rewrote it and then he re-released it. I mean, his career goes on for, I mean, from Miles to everything that he's doing now. This is a guy that is just beyond the fact of like, oh, is a great pianist or, arranger, composer.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, but
it just,
yeah. It's a
that's,
spirit that
and obviously we all have, our own spiritual reason to connect with the guy and all of that. But I mean, you work with a lot of great musicians. You were mentioning the gods and also the young guns, but you have this relationship with Herbie. What's the difference of dealing with somebody like him and dealing, for example, with somebody that is like a young comer or somebody that is not as open as he is to all this? I mean, this movie is actually kind of like behind the scene. What's launched?
stop there because stop there. It's good. It's because this is what happens when I am working with someone like Herbie or Sonny or Master Heath, or let's say even Roy Hargrove when he was alive. It's totally different when I'm working with the young. The young feels safe with me because he knows who I am trained with. So they hire me because I reassure them. When I am working with Herbie or Wayne or with the ones that are past, I am a musician. I carry a camera, but they don't see me. They treat me, I am another musician, and they talk to me what they're gonna play, and they look at me and they do everything like I am a musician. I don't exist. No one is really paying attention to what I am doing or not. They don't care, and I become one of them. And that is one of the things that you get when you're working with someone like Herbie. Not only with Herbie, I have had it with all of them, but Herbie is particularly cheerful. Besides a genius, he's particularly cheerful. I got to meet Herbie Hancock years ago because I am best friends, 30 years old best friend with James Genus. James Genus is his bass player. And that's how I came close to Herbie. One thing brings the other. And that's how I got the opportunity, thanks also to James, to work with Herbie. And then later on, I am the photographer for Umbria Jazz and many powerful festivals. And of course, I am one-to-one with him. But they don't see me. I mean, the last interaction that I had with Herbie is just perhaps the just in my head all the time. Jimmy Heath and EA Just Master, Mr. Heath is just passed. He had his birthday at the Kennedy Center. First of all, as a photographer, to be in the rooms behind at the Kennedy Center, I was like, wow, am I there? Am I here? I was like, wow, I can't believe I am here. So being in the backstage at the Kennedy Center with Herbie Hancock and Jimmy Heath, they both go into a room. So unless Master Heath or Herbie tells me, I don't do anything, you know, I'm always invisible. Today I try not to be. I did an effort to look good, but I don't look that good. When I'm working, I really don't look good. So Jimmy just put me in. And, you know, he sat me. I mean, they were both sitting. I have the photograph. It's a famous photo now. Herbie's here, Jimmy's here, and I'm sitting there. And they start to talk. And I think they talked for 2-3 hours. I was there. I don't use a motor. I don't use a camera with motor. Click, 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 click. No, I don't. I use a camera that I put a motor, but I don't use a motor. I have the camera in one eye and the other eye on the person. And when I think it's ready, I choose the other eye and I click. I have a very fast lens and my camera is set up right. So there is no distraction in these moments. And that's how I got those documentary photographers, because they asked me to be in that room. They want me, they don't care if I hear what they're saying, whether it's good or bad, because I'm not going to repeat it anyway. I don't care, unless they ask me to write a book. And you know, they just ask me to be with them. They want me to be with them. And I think that happens with trust. And they want people to see that they are together. They want to know people to know how they are, who they are, how they interact. And my photos sometimes are a stage, but many of my photos are in the most incredible situations because of that. Because I go in the bus with them, I go on the plane with them, I am in the hotel with them, and I travel with them. I am hired by them. And I survive by them, because there's no way to survive in jazz if they don't give me the work, because it doesn't pay. It's really a profession that, as you said, is very hard for photographers to make money. And I am trying to create now that I just did a page where, you know what? Are you a photographer? Are you starting? Post all you have. Everybody has a chance. Anything is possible. Anything in this life is absolutely possible. So, you know, I think that's why I think I can work with anyone. Anyone that wants to give me that or feels like that. Could be a dancer. It just happened that at that time, we were all there. The famous 90s at Bradley's.
Well, I was living in New York in the early 90s, and I remember those Monday night at the China Club. It was.
Oh my God, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I was in a different place musically, so I was just like the happy visitors, but incredibly happy to enjoy the moment in those kind of things. But, you know, I know exactly what you're talking about. Of course, being a musician, it's just, you know, there's all these kind of like feelings and emotions and things that are coming in when it happened that you have the right night. Even people that you've been knowing all your life, and it works in a particular way, then you just stumble into the right moment and the right energy works around.
Hey, I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit. I called Cedar Walton so many times. I called everybody saying, you know what? I hate this. What am I doing with my life? No one wants to date me. I can't have a boyfriend because he gets jealous. I'm out of night. I'm with this guy. I'm with the other guy. I'm just ruining my life. I don't have any money. How I buy these lamps?
It sounds like you sound like a musician.
I was like, and I'm like at home sitting Margros, whichever friend I have, any Benny Green. And they were like, sometimes one is in Paris, I'm in New York. The other, no, you can't quit. You can't quit. I play for you now. And we do FaceTime and they play. Are you cheer up? Okay, go out. So, yeah, I mean, we would call FaceTime. And you know, I don't know if I could. Sometimes I look back and all this quarantine, I think we have all been through it. I said, okay, it's time to be a good girl and a good professional and organize my hard drives. And wow, I mean, I cannot even put the book together. I just wrote yesterday to the person who did my book in Italy. To see if someone, because I cannot do it alone. It's just $20,000. I don't know what I was doing. I think it was my life. It only stopped with the quarantine. I don't think I would have edited. I have photos unedited that I had published. I published this photo with Herbie and Jimmy not long ago. So it is, you know, I just don't know. I don't know. I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop. I was, you know, they don't stop playing. So when you are with them, with the musicians, you just don't stop doing it.
Yeah.
You just don't sleep. You fall asleep in the couch. You're out every night. You don't have a normal life. You're a musician or a photographer musician. And looking back, I say, wow, what a life.
It's true. Listen, as a majority of people that are out there, they love music, they go to show, but they never get to experience the behind the scene. And I'm not talking about just the behind the scene of one show. Like you're saying, when you travel, even if it's just for like a couple of shows on the weekends and stuff, and it actually, this is something that generally kicks in even more when you have more of an extended, you know, traveling situation with the band and stuff. It kind of like, it creates some sort of like a world apart. There is a bubble that gets created about, you know, and the musicians and the crew and stuff. And it's like where the artist together with the soundman, the lightman, everything, it kind of like they created their own world that is traveling within this other world. And it's like you're like in a space-time momentum that is completely apart from everything else. You get your own reality, and the bond that gets created with the people inside that bubble, in whether it's that night or whether it's those weeks, it's just so insane. That is one of the best things for me. Beside the actual playing itself, it's just that kind of like, you create a vibe where there is like a communication without talking, where you know what's going on. There is routines that get installed almost like immediately, that become part of the living together for those days or for those weeks or for those months. It's insane. And I like the fact that you were just mentioning, they never stop, because these people are the legend that they are because they don't pretend to be. It's not a job. They do what they like, and they're able to make a living with it.
It becomes a lifestyle.
Exactly. So it's on 24/7.
Like I'm on quarantine now overseas. I said, where are my friends? I said, do I have friends? No, I have, like, my friends are the whole scene. And one of the things that are important to say is that I think that after William Claxton passed, she's one of my favorites, and Herman Leonard stopped photographing, and obviously he was making no money. Well, William Claxton was privileged because he was also producing, besides being a genius photographer. They were not filming and photographing the recording. So that is something that I started doing with Willie Jones III, Justin Robinson, Roy Harvard, Buster Williams. I started, I was the first one entering Avatar again. Avatar is in New York, or was the biggest recording studio, or Systems 2, whatever. And that wasn't being done anymore. And I was trained. I know how to be inside while they are recording. I communicate with the guys through the window. And I can be with a musician walking in my socks, filming. So that's another thing that we were able to do with the ones of my generation. And the first elder that did it was Cedar Walton. And after that, all of them did it. So I had recordings and video and photographs that were used for the covers of the CD inside the recording studios, because you have to know where the wires go, you have to know why they are enclosed, you have to have the headphones to know who goes, and you have to read what they're going to play. You have to know when there's a bridge. You have to know. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what is going to happen, but even if things change, something good, because something good always happens, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because, I mean, it's history already, and I feel so happy. I'm not depressed because it changed. I'm not like that. I think there will be other ways that are interesting. And as I say, anything is possible, no?
Yeah, for sure. And I have one more question for you. Based upon what's shown on Herbie's Possibility, which is actually the chronicles of collaborations with completely, I mean, some artists very, I would say, related to his world, but some other ones that you would not expect. I mean, you're going from Christina Aguilera to John Mayer and all of that. Now, in your experience, can you tell me what was the moment where you witnessed like the most odd collaboration among some of your friends, musicians, and why that got you? I mean, why you consider that moment the best one, and what got you to remember it still today or cherish it?
I think there were particularly two. One was with Sonny Rollins, and the rest was with Roy Hargrove and with Cedar Walton. With Cedar Walton was very strict while working, but it was a joke, and I didn't know it was a sense of humor, so I would take it as serious. And he would make me go in the stage, on the stage. That is a rock and roll thing. That's not a jazz thing. Okay? If you're a jazz photographer, you do not go on stage, okay?
Yes, God.
That's bad. So, Miss
Must have liked
Walton,
you.
oh my God. So, is he serious? And the other guys, he's very serious. They were obviously teasing me because I take everything so serious. And I had to hide. Do you know what is when Lorraine was at the Village Vanguard? To go into the stage and hide behind the bass of Happy Williams, because Cedar said he wanted a photo that would look from the piano, his face, through the photos on the wall. And I did it. And I did it. And then I did it like 3 times in 3 clothes. And then one day I entered the room and they were all laughing. And they said, well, he never wanted that I'm crazy. So, they just things you learn, that it was funny. I would do anything. They was just, I think they were testing my, would you do it? Would you dare? And when it comes to a photo, I'm terrible. I dare. So, That was one, and then with Roy was different because we are the same age. He was my best lifetime friend, and he's the one that in my generation I came by with the idea of the the legacy. But he was the one that told me, once you're done with this, you're going to move on. I said, what do you mean? And he told me this in a conversation I had before he passed from Paris, before he went to Paris. He says, well, you're already moving on. There are already people that hip hop looking at you. There are already you already moved on. Your name is already in other areas. Because Roy was very, Roy would play different things. He was not only jazz, very particular. So I think he was right. I think he was right because I'm getting connected with people that, thanks to what is happening, that are seeing my work, that love it. And I would, they're hip hop, there's some rock. So it's changing. It's changing.
Always, and we just need to keep up with it. Actually, go with it. We don't have to force it. That's what it
Life
is.
is changing.
Exactly.
Life is changing. Yeah, life is changing. And it really, for me, I think that I also have an evolution. I also think I need to be in other. I already wanted to meet some hip hop, which I did. I was already starting in New York to do that. Then the pandemic came. I traveled to the festival in Uruguay. I locked out, but I think it will happen because I think that it's nothing wrong with all the genders collapsing. When there is a genius mind like Herbie, that can play with anybody, it's like it cheers your heart. It's the way it should be. You understand?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's no other way. It never was. That time that we were at the Kennedy Center, Herbie started chanting behind doors, and I was chanting behind the other door because I was so shy to ask. The Nam Myoho. So before the show, because we do that before working, and it makes you understand. It's just one, and with all the bad that all this had with the pandemic, the good things, I met you, for example, and I think it's like it is a one. You understand? It is the opportunity to grab all these amazing minds that were floating all apart, thinking about their own little thing, about their own little money, about their own little rent. And it's not like that. The arts are expanding. The arts are expanding. And I think that we can work now and know each other in a way that it would be, I think that it would take a while, but it would be amazing. Sorry, I'm very optimistic.
No, but that's great. And actually, you know what? That's something that I noticed. Well, it's very typical of our thinking on that and the practice. When you were saying before about the lights, that's very Buddhist. When you were mentioning that you will go to the clubs, and obviously clubs, for jazz, they're not set up. They don't. I mean, it's just the light is for the pianist, whatever. And it's just like but I made friends with the light guy. That's a very Buddhist thing. It's like you have a wall in front of you. So what am I doing? I'm breaking it down? No, I'm just walking around. If the higher the wall it is, that means that whatever it's next to or behind it, it's very
I met person
protected.
once working in the clubs, like the waitress and the light guys, than the owner. The owner is making money. Then we became friends. But at the beginning, who's the light guy? I went like this, please don't use the fuchsia. Tape it, you know. And the waitress, you know what it is in the blue note? Oh my God, the poor waiters working there, and you're passing by with your camera, and the people trying to see the show. You have to be like Robin Hood. I mean, I don't know, like Batman, something like. So yeah, I think that's being humble and looking at the obstacles that could happen before you go to work, and preparing all your mindset into a beautiful energy, knowing which music they are going to play, connect with the musicians, and it's just all part of it. That is the way I work. No, it doesn't mean it has to be like that.
No, but I mean, it's natural what you're saying. That's the proper way. Regardless, everybody can have their own nuances or a variation to the recipe, but that's supposed to be the spirit. So that's totally cool. And I have one more question for you. So though, what's in the future for you? I mean, what are your plans now for the most immediate ones, at least?
Well, right now we are in regards with the musicians. I have the projects for photographers, which I think need help, and I have my projects with musicians. Right now, I am working with NPR for an interview with Christian McBride. Well, definitely with you guys, which is an honor. And we're trying to set up how it's going to be, because right now, if a show is being held, let's suppose here, I cannot be involved. I cannot be here and with the other musician in New Orleans, and they are doing in video. I don't know if you know, but there's a guy that had developed, which is a genius, I don't remember his name, I should, that they wouldn't have that. I mean, when I do this,
latency, there's no latency. A latency eliminated. Yeah.
Thank you. So as being no latency, it hasn't been discovered in photography yet. So what I would do is work with the one that creates, let's say you are creating your music, I will travel and I will stay with you and I will photograph you. Mm-hmm. And I will have to send a photographer that I trust to the other musician. And my plan is to do it with locals. I think that if you're playing with someone in Taiwan, mm-hmm. I think it would be very good to create a group in where a very good photographer that I am working, I am the one hired, I can find someone in Taiwan to go and do the other musician. Collaboration, everything is a one. Mm-hmm. We have to stop. This is a one. Well, I think that collaboration is the future for everything.
Well, it's amazing how this thing, probably one of the best thing about the pandemic, got everybody, I mean, there's a bunch of bad things, but like you were saying about focusing on the positive fact, the fact that we embrace all this technology to talk to each other. I mean, people have been talking to friends and to families and reconnected more than it's ever happened, just because now all of a sudden everything was like unplugged and it was given the opportunity to do, like, just, you cannot go in the street, you cannot go out, the clubs are closed and everything. Just talk, focus, and just do something that is important. The fact that now we have this technology that we can take advantage of it will give, I guess, you know, creativity. You have to think a little bit outside the box, but I think see it like you. I mean, I think it will just bring good, you know.
Not only that, I think that musicians, not the producers, not the musician himself, is seeing that he himself, when they look at my work, let's put myself, it could be another photographer, what we have done, they say, wow, this person is like, had recorded 50 albums. I mean, it's like the same amount of work. Mm-hmm. And I think there would be a need, because there would be a need to do images that are very, very much more personal than they were even before, to be honest, Fab. Because this thing, even if we resolve the latency of sound, I mean, I'm into music. I had to talk about music, forget about photography. If we resolve the latency thing, which bothers me, the images that would be used for whether it's streaming, promotion, they really are going to have to be very good to transmit really fast. I think that I heard people say, no, they take with the phone. I think the absolute opposite. I think that people like Herbie Hancock, like Wayne Schultz, like these people that are in high levels, Christina Aguilera, whoever you want, Sting. I think that on the contrary, I think they're going to look for the best photographer possible, for the best image that can really, because people cannot feel them in person. They cannot hear them from this distance to that. So you're going to need an image that, wow, grabs your soul around. You understand?
Well, that's the kind of stuff that people do not pay attention until they get to see it and they see the difference. And once you once you see the difference, then you go like, oh my God, you know.
You really know.
Absolutely. Well,
and
listen.
I think it's a gift. I think it's a gift. I think some people is gifted to photograph landscapes. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at it. I just can't do it. I mean, Hansel Adams, I use his technique though. Mm-hmm. But I can't see. But you know what? I can get in my car like I did. I have a photo with James Genius from Herbie Hancock's band with his bass in my Mini Cooper. The camera, the bass. It's crazy. But I can do that. So I really have hopes that photographers shouldn't be in despair. That's in regard to music. I am well. I already have shows scheduled for September, which I'm very blessed. And I open a page in Facebook, and it's an open public page. I just say, are you a photographer? Established, new? Are you a musician? Post whatever you like. If it's not bullying, if it's not political, you're approved. Promote anything. I just opened it. It's called Just American Photographers. In 2 days, we have like 100 posts.
Wow.
It's public. I don't, it's not to make money, to make nothing.
No,
it's just,
of course.
It's just to people to believe in themselves. People really should start believing in themselves. Anything is possible. Your energy, what you give, comes back. Everything comes back. Everything.
Well, and on this very wise note from Adriana, you guys, I'm inviting you again to check out the movie now, Herbie Hancock's Possibilities. You guys are going to have fun. And once again, photography legend, and now a friend of mine, I can say, please, let's stay in touch. And hopefully let's get to work together soon. Adriana Matteo, thank you so much. Have a great time. And hopefully I'll see you on the road one of these days. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, Adriana. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.